Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Season 2 of Let's Talk About Your Breast is being presented from our brand new studio. Let me tell you about this room. It used to be a surgical prep room. It was a part of a surgery center, and it was a prep room where women and men were taken in and they were just getting prepped for surgery. It was all clinical. It was all sterile. You could just feel that in the walls. And our staff has turned it into a warm and inviting, beautiful professional studio. It has a lot of space. And our first thank you for this studio has to go out to the Bill and Helen Crowder Foundation. They provided us a grant for remodeling and equipment, and they were the ones that really made the studio possible. But who turned that grant into this studio was our staff. I want to say a wonderful shout out to the marketing team of Elda and Roxanne and Karina. They took on this project with a vengeance. They made every penny count. They did their homework. They knew what they had to have for the room, and anything that they couldn't purchase, they made do with something else. And they even got their husbands in here. I want to say a real big thank you to Elda's husband, Effer, and to Roxanne's husband, Brandon, for all the weekends that they worked here at the center trying to make this studio come to life. They are two of the Rose Misters who volunteer when we need them the most, and we so appreciate them. I want to tell you about another Rose Mister, and that is Freddie Cruz. He is someone who is behind this podcast. He's our producer, champion, my cheerleader, and none of these episodes would ever be possible without him. Freddie came to us with the idea of a podcast, and he's been here ever since. Now, let me tell you about Season 2. We are focused on well-being this season. Last season, we talked a lot about self-care, and we reminded everyone that self-care isn't selfish, it is essential. And we believe that self-care must be a number one priority in the lives of women. We know that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else. I believe self-care comes in a variety of ways, and what may nurture me may not help you. But one thing I do know is that women can no longer afford to put themselves last. Being a doormat or a martyr or whatever label we used to attach to it just doesn't work anymore. To me, self-care is one path to reaching a state of well-being. But it's not the only one. This season we'll be sharing different perspectives about well-being, and from our guest I know you will find inspiration, hope, and most of all the courage to find a path to your own well-being. I sincerely believe we can be sad. We can be totally unhappy with life and all that's come to us, but we can still possess a sense of joy. I know many people who have faced impossible situations, who've had to make difficult decisions, but somehow they still had a sense of well-being. It was that inside knowing that all will be well. I admire that ability and can't wait to share these episodes that will help all of us understand and attain that sense of well-being within ourselves. You'll also hear compelling stories from breast cancer survivors, caretakers, physicians, and our supporters. We've added guests who have unique perspectives about life and who will share their ideas on how we can make the most of every day. My biggest thank you goes out to our listeners. Thank you for spending your precious time with us. I am overwhelmed by your generosity and by the way you care about our mission and our work. You are the reason the Rose is able to serve so many women, men, and families in communities all across the state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting the Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish, it's essential.